Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have our special guest today. Her name's Jessica Blaisdell. Jessica, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
Oh, yes, thank you. So, if you don't mind, we'll just jump right into the questions. And if you could share with the audience who you are, what you're doing, what your business is, and a bit about you.
Well, like you said, my name is Jessica Blaisdell. I am a grandma. I used to be called a mom first. Now I call myself a grandma first. I'm a grandma, obviously a mom, and I do transaction coordination work. I actually work for my daughter, and she's the one that got me started in this. I called her and was like, I need some skills. And she kind of brought me down the road with her, and we started doing TC business. So she's the owner, and I am, yeah, I'm along for the rides.
Amazing. So, how did she get you involved? What processes occurred for her?
So we basically started in sub two, and there was a gentleman at the time that was kind of teaching some TC work, and we started listening to that, and through that, and just the process of life, things evolved, and now she owns her own business, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I got into it so I could. My husband was basically wanting to retire, and wanted me to kind of make up some of that income. And I was like, okay, I could do this part time, and which it hasn't really turned part time. It's not part time yet, but um, doing that, and so just kind of fell into that aspect of things. So I've gained so many skills and have grown so much. It's been amazing. It's not always been fun because growing pains hurt, but yeah, it's been a huge journey, and I get to do it with my daughter. So I get to see my grandkids on Zoom and, all of that. And actually, my youngest daughter is now on her team also. So um, we've got a little bit of a family affair going on there. So it's kind of a win-win where you get to be with your kids, but you're working and all of that. So.
That is so amazing. So are you able to combine that family and like the business? Like, do you set boundaries so that you don't like conflict with what's going on? How do you make everything work that way?
I will say my youngest coming in, she started that. She was like, we're not going to talk about work all the time. We are not. You have to kind of flip those hats and be like, okay, can I talk as mom right now? Can I talk as, Mimi? I go by Mimi. And so I'm like, Mimi, I, I Mimi wants to see the kids right now. Can we not talk about work? Like, I want to hear about their school or, what they're doing, first steps and all that. So, that has been a challenge, especially when we see each other in person. It's because everything is work, 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 especially with her being an entrepreneur. She's very driven and focused. But we seem to make it work. I go and visit there and we do some work, and then I, get to play with the kids, and we go out shopping, her and I, or something. And so we've tried to really make that work. It is challenging sometimes, though.
Yeah, I imagine. But that's awesome that it is working and that you are being able to work together as a family. That is such a blessing. When you first started as a mom, were you working?
Well, I had her, I'll be totally honest, I had her when I was 15. And so I was not working at the time. I started working not long after, and I did work while she was little. I had the wonderful support of my family, though, also helping me along the way. And um, once I had my other children, I got married and had my other children. It didn't make sense. Like, kind of like today in this day and age, it almost doesn't make sense to have to put your kids in daycare because it's so expensive. So I did not work. And so that's why all of a sudden I'm calling her saying I need some skills, because I went from being a mom, and then I married someone who's older. So we were kind of doing the retired grandma thing pretty early for me. And now I'm kind of living life backwards and going back to, to having a career and learning skills again. So I kind of lived life backwards a little bit, but I wouldn't change it for the world because I got to be with my kids when they were little. And I think that is something that's a little bit more challenging, where people do have to work more now than they probably had to back then, to where you're having to be a mom and an entrepreneur, or, in the workforce all at the same time. And that I think is probably pretty challenging for people. I have a hard enough time just being a Mimi. I've got 7 grandkids and I want to be with them all the time, but I have to say no to them sometimes too. And so I can't imagine being a mom having to say no. So we've just learned to find ways to integrate some of that. So my daughter has like a keyboard that we got for, my grandson, and he writes up his emails, and my other grandson knows how to do emails. And so it's work time now, and just trying to have it be like they feel like they're part of that. My one grandson will tell you that he is a TC. um,
So
he
cute.
works for the business also, so and he will throw out some verbiage, and it's pretty cute. He'll do some talking. So I think that's important though, just so you don't feel like you have to choose
I
one or
love
the
that.
other.
Yes, it's so vital to let your children be a part of what you're doing because they learn from you and they want to help you. And so having that keyboard for them to be able to work on and feel like they're a part of what you're doing, it's so special. Those are tender memories that'll make them enjoy work rather than feeling like it's time away from family or feel
Right.
that obligation.
Well, and it's not like their mom isn't, or even myself, it's like I'm not having to go away from it. We can do it all. We can stop and do bubbles, and in between some emails. And I'm really when they are with me, I always like setting a timer. I'm like, okay, so we're gonna, play for this amount of time, and then Mimi has to go back and do, a few things, and then we'll set a timer, and then I'll come back, and that's how so then they know, right? It's just, it can't be all day. Like Mimi's not going to be gone at a job somewhere and not come back, or mom, for hours and stuff. So it's just kind of like, yeah, trying to make it work.
Yes, and that's so again, it's so important because you're showing them that there is a timer. We will have time together. Like, I just need to finish this, and then we'll be right back to playing or like having that interaction that's needed.
Right. Yeah, because that time is so precious. You can't get it back. I mean, I look at, even though I was with my kids when they were little, I look at it now and go, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I didn't have, you know, definitely didn't have chat, but didn't barely have the internet, Pinterest, all those things when they were little. And so, it was more library time or more outside time, but it's like you can always go, I wish I would have or I could have. And so hopefully now you don't have to have that, right? There's so many tools and so many things out there and so many ways, different ways of doing things. There's so many more people working from home, on Zoom and doing stuff like that, to where I feel like you can have it both and a little bit more. So, yeah, it's good. But for most people, I think, it depends on where your focus is at. But yeah.
Yes, for sure. Did you have to go through any mindset shifts from being a work like
Oh yes. That's constantly a progress. I'm constantly in progress with that. That's like absolutely. And it's still, and I'm watching other people go through it. It's especially working from home, because you're not on a W-2 mindset. You are more on, an entrepreneur 1099, to where you have more say over your time. So then, at first I would get kind of like, well, no, that's not what I want to do, but it's like what I had to do. So I had to have the mindset of like, this is the work time. This is my office time. Um, and then you can go even deeper into, the imposter syndrome, and just the growth personally. Am I good enough for this? Am I smart enough for this? Am I, so it's a constant mindset change of, and my daughter helped me a lot with that. I mean, she wasn't always, she's pretty like, come on mom, but she would call me out on stuff, and help change my mindset. And then in turn, I think her and I bring each other balance. Just because she's so, focused and vision driven, and I'm more like relational, and I'm like, wait, what about this time? And so we really balance each other out, but just really helping each other with our mindsets. And then just to see my youngest daughter come in and start to see her mindset change has been amazing, because it filters down to the generations, and so it's just really, I'm glad that it's happening now, to where I can help change my grandkids, hopefully not too much mindset, but just, we all have mindset issues and stuff like that, emotional issues, all of that. And just helping each other out in that way of in a kind way of just like, no, 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 remember who you are, remember, you are capable and stuff like that. So, um, yeah.
That is so important. Do you feel that you became more entrepreneurial mindset and positive mindset with these changes?
Definitely more positive mindset. Absolutely. That was not something that I grew up with necessarily. We weren't always, it was not like entrepreneurial at all. And the positivity was not necessarily there all the time. Entrepreneurship, no, I don't know if I'd go that far. I get little inklings of, oh, that would be fun, or oh, maybe I want to do that. Um, I mean, maybe a little bit, but not like I don't want to go rule the world. I don't want to like my daughter's just more that driven. Like that's her lane, and I'm more of like a in the background helper type. I'll help you get there, girl. Like I just am kind of content with where I'm at in life as far as um I don't I don't feel like I need a whole lot to be happy. And so I'm I take joy in like gardening and doing other things like that. Not necessarily chasing after a dream. But I was never really taught to dream also. So that could be part of my mindset thing too, is that I need to learn how to dream a little bit more. My daughter has said, well, wouldn't it be nice if you could, have enough money where you can always go see all your grandchildren, anytime you want. And so some of that is still a work in progress for sure. Um, but I like to take joy in the simple things about life too. So
That's so sweet. That's important. Like learning those mindset shifts, especially the positivity one, but like knowing like I can keep changing. I can reach like these dreams that I don't have yet. I can get there and I
right.
can visit my grandkids
And
and
I've been okay with the change. I'm not always been good with change, but I am now okay with like, okay, I have to learn another platform. Okay, one more platform, to where it's always changing. I was not ever used to that. And so now I do welcome the challenge a little bit more now. And to where I'm teaching my daughter things sometimes. And so that's really fun when I can feel like I can still teach her something. And I'll be like, did you know that you can do this? And she's like, oh, and so that's part of it's been really fun. So yeah.
that's awesome. So cool. So, what are some examples of like a specific phrase that helped you change your mindset? So, like, what did your daughter say specifically that could help the audience?
Oh. I don't know if it's something that I can't recall something that she said because we've been doing this for a few years now. But I will say I was just at a conference, and one thing that's really sticking with me right now that's kind of pivoting who I am and everything is there was a line that said to be in alignment with your assignment, and just really knowing who you are and why you're here and what your assignment is in life. And so that's where I'm at of just like, we all ask each other the why, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And so just digging deep and finding that. And it doesn't have to be, someone else had mentioned, well, we're going to be the ones that make it. And it's like, well, what's your definition of make it? And it's different for everyone, right? And so um everyone's assignments are different, everyone's lives are different, and so basing your success off of who, right? It's personal success, and I don't think that we can or that we shouldn't compare ourselves to other people, right? Because their success isn't necessarily my success. My success can be littler things, and so I had to be okay with that. Like I'm not out buying a bunch of properties and I'm not out, making $1 million and I'm not out, but I'm still successful right where I'm at. And as long as I'm at peace with who I am and how I treat people and where my life is, then I'm successful. And I think we can just get really caught up in comparing ourselves, especially as moms, to one another of well, they're doing it all, or they're this, or they're that, and I'm not. And then you just get down on yourselves. And it's like, well, no, but are you showing up for your kids or for your, your job every day? Are you showing up in the best version of you? Then you're successful, right? So,
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's very helpful because being in alignment with your assignment, like yes, you have to know what your assignment is, but you're able to have those opportunities to learn, to grow, and to be able to know like it doesn't matter what other people are doing. Like, what is it that you want to do? What feels good to you? So, thank
and
you for
that's hard. You
sharing.
have to really be secure. And I've never been a huge secure, I'm more insecure. So I think I've become more of a secure person of just being able to say, this is who I am, you know, and standing up for who you are, as a person. So,
Very true.
work
Yes.
in progress for sure.
Yes. You're doing great, though. You're getting this.
Yeah.
So, what were some obstacles, so to speak, that you had when you were transitioning from being a mom to being an entrepreneurial grandmother?
Um, my time was a huge one. Definitely the mindset. I mean, we talked about that. Definitely the mindsets. And then the time, because you're all of a sudden, it's especially with your spouse, who's making dinner now? I'm like doing this, I'm working, working, working. Who's doing dinner? And I saw it with my kids, like, well, who's, taking the care of the kids now? Who's so I think your time becomes just so much more precious of being intentional with where you're putting your time. And that was really hard for me to, um, especially being at home doing it. It wasn't someone telling me what to do. I had to tell myself what to do, right? I have to tell myself every day what to do. And if I don't tell myself, I'm not gonna do that, right? So I have to be very intentional with that. And that was a big challenge because I would much rather be playing with my grandkids. And when I got pulled away from work, I'd get a little a little cranky, and I'd just be like, I don't want to be doing that. I want to be playing with my grandkids, So it was just that is still sometimes a challenge, because I would just much rather be doing other things sometimes, wouldn't we all? Right. And so having that discipline of showing up for yourself and showing up to do the work so you can see the outcome, but that was a huge challenge for me, and no one was going to make the money except me. No one was going to do the work except for me. I had to do it for myself, and so I had to dig deep into myself to be an overcomer and to be an achiever and to be all of those things that I didn't feel like I was before. Obviously I was, but I didn't believe it about myself. So if I had to say one thing, probably belief in myself, confidence was a huge one, of just knowing that I could do this. I could go out and be a TC. I could be successful. I could be, all of those things. Um, and before I didn't have that confidence. So that would probably be that one thing.
Confidence is super important. Like the time, knowing how to manage your time, and then that confidence that really builds you into who you need to be able to know, like, I can do these things. And so, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. What I wanted to study up on it. How do you create confident kids or confident people? Because I didn't have it. Like, how do you put that into your children? How do you, and I think some of it is probably letting them fail and learning. And that's something I've tried to start teaching my grandkids. It's okay to fail. You're going to learn. And as I'm telling them, I'm telling myself the same thing, because no one, especially being firstborn, you don't want to fail. Um, and so I had to be okay with failing. And so that's something I'm trying to teach them. It's you're just learning how not to do it now, and stuff. So I hope that's how you build confidence a little bit, because that's what I'm trying to help, impart to the grandkids. But yeah, we'll see. Yes.
I agree that having your grandchildren and children learn as they go definitely builds that confidence because they know failure is okay. It gives us that time to be able to practice and we learn how to do better. So, like you as a grandma being able to coach and be like, okay, this time it didn't work, but you can try again, like try a different way. And I think that definitely boosts our confidence of knowing that we have that support.
And I think surrounding yourself with people that are supportive in that way, that everyone's in that boat, and that's why I love being on the team my daughter's team, because we've got a bunch of women that we're all in the same boat, and it's okay to ask the silly questions. It's okay to learn in this environment that's safe, that we're all going to fail, and then we're just going to learn a better way to do it. And so that's the one thing I've really loved about being on the team is um, everyone is encouraging and supportive, and you have that support system. Because when you're trying to do it on your own, who's gonna who's gonna boost you up sometimes, and unless you have that in yourself, and I didn't have that in myself to boost myself up. And so being on the team has really helped in that way, just to surround yourself with positive people also.
For sure. Even the support system of your team definitely builds that confidence too. So, for sure. What were you doing prior to the team? Did you have a support system when you were raising your children, when your daughter was starting her entrepreneurship?
No, my daughter was always a little entrepreneur. She even had a little Rock World little business when she was a little one, and had little business cards. So she's always been an entrepreneur. So I don't think I knew how to support her in that, because it was something so foreign to me. There was not the support system of teaching confidence. It feels like it was a different world than what I live in now when they were little. And I have three beautiful, wonderful daughters that are diamonds in the rough that came out of that. All successful, all wonderful children. But that was definitely not something that was there when they were little. I did not know how to get. I mean, I feel like I didn't even raise them. I'm like, you guys are such a great, you guys are a great, great girl. I mean, I know I did, and I taught them wonderful things, but at the same time, they're so much, they're joys. They're wonderful, more than I could imagine.
Fantastic. Every child's different and every parent's different. So, obviously, it's going to look different for everyone. And knowing that can also bring consolation of I did what I could, you did what you could, and we're growing together and we're building something that's unique and different.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, how do you stay motivated and maintain the confidence that you have now?
You have to ask yourself the why every day. I think, like, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this? Some days are easier than others. Other days it makes sense, and other days it doesn't. I've learned to build endurance. I think that, like, last year was a huge year of endurance, of sticking with it when it does get tough and hard and exhausting, and I don't want to do this anymore. So I think you have to ask yourself the why. And so I have to go back to, I'm doing this, for my family. I'm doing this so I can be, around my grandchildren more. If I had to go get a 9 to 5 job somewhere, for one, it's, oh my gosh, just thinking about that now would be horrible. But, to have to be away from my house and my family and my grandkids and my kids, to go work for somebody that I don't know, and now it just doesn't even sound appealing at all. So it's like, it's for them, it's for the family, it's for myself, to feel like I can still, I've done work from the Grand Canyon. I've done work while I'm camping, which is not as fun when my husband's out like hiking and doing stuff, and I'm like, well, I have to work, but I can look at the beauty of it, and so it's like, I wouldn't trade that, but you have to remind yourselves of what those things are, of what you've done. Like, I wouldn't be able to do this if I was doing that. So I think it's always having to put yourself back in check a little bit of what's your why.
That makes a lot of sense, especially once you have that time freedom and that ability to do, like, go wherever, do whatever you want, but still know that you have those time blocks for working. It really does make life so much easier and so
Yeah,
much
it's hard to
happier.
pivot with it sometimes. Like I said, especially, when we're driving to go camping somewhere, and my husband's like, "Did you see that bald eagle?" And I'm like, "No, I'm working, babe. I'm trying to get this done so we can get there." But the further I've went in it too, I feel like it's not as hard to do the work now that I know how to do the work, so I can do it more efficiently And, so many tools out there. I can schedule my emails at night, so I can do some of those in the those go out in the morning, so I can have that time to pack up to go somewhere, or different things like that. So it's taking some of those tools and learning how to use them to our advantage to give us more time. Our team is getting ready to we do a little book club thing every month, and we're getting ready to do buy back your time. And so I'm really excited about going through that book of just how to utilize that time and give it back, to the things that you want to put it into. So, I go by East Coast hours now. And so I'm off in the afternoon here. I'm on the West Coast. So that it's like, then I have that time for, the gardening and making dinner again and doing some of those things that I was not doing because I was going off of all hours and not having those boundaries on myself, to where, you're waking up early and going to bed late doing it. And I'm like, well, what kind of life is this? So um, I think I veered off a little bit, but yeah, it just kind of that's helping with that. So
Fantastic. Like using the Eastern time, because basically you're doing all your work in the morning so that you do have the afternoon free. That is brilliant. Oh, way to go.
yeah. And I've gotten a lot more on my phone now, to where you can read some of those emails even if you don't want to be up that early yet. So there's been a couple mornings where I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to read the emails here because I just didn't sleep well, and I can do that. In a normal job, you wouldn't be able to do that. So then it's like, okay, now I know as soon as I get up and go to my office, what I'm walking into, but I've read those emails. Um, I know where I'm going with the day. So
It gives you a mental prep to prepare for what needs to be done.
yeah, so just learning all those tips and tricks of, even on Sunday nights, even though it's the weekend, I had to do a hard not working on the weekend anymore, because that was sucking the life out of me. So it's seriously at Friday at 2 o'clock, like it's off, and I try not to. I have a little bit here and there, but I try not to respond. I might see things come through and go, okay, but Sunday night usually I'll kind of prep a little bit, like, okay, what's the week gonna bring? um, and stuff like that. But I try to just stay away from, I don't want to be on my computer. I barely want to be on my phone, because I just want to be present. And that has been actually challenging, to be present um, in life, because I was always thinking about work and what I had to do. And I didn't want to forget. And I got to write this down. And I got to, all these things, to where it's like we're driving down the road. And again, oh, my husband's like, oh, look at the bald eagles. And I love watching the bald eagles and everything where we're at. We count them and all this. And I was missing out on that because I was focused on in my own head about work, this deal and that deal and that, and it's like I have to like focus on the now, the right now. um, so that's been a challenge, but I'm working on it. Just being present.
Yes, that is a challenge because especially when you have little ones or you have like your grandkids and you're still trying to be present and do all of the work and all of the household duties, it's like, when is now?
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, it's like my husband, please don't ask me what I'm thinking. You just don't ask that, because that's a loaded question. I'm thinking about a million different things, and not really able to just enjoy where I'm at. So
Yeah. Have you learned to turn that off? Like, have you been practicing?
absolutely, it's been a work in progress, and I still have to catch myself. I do it, but my whole thing is by the time Monday comes around, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't remember what I was doing, because I let it go so much. So I'm like, I gotta find that balance of, I don't want to forget. It's good note taking is what it is.
Okay.
I realized that if I can take good notes, especially on Friday, when I come back on Monday, I'll know where I left off. Like, this is what's happened. But when I wasn't leaving notes in a system, yeah, that wasn't good. Because then I was like, oh, what was that again? I don't remember. Like, I'm past that age of remembering everything. I have to write it down. So good note taking, I think, helps with that, to where you can just let it go. Write it down and let it go.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets it off of your mind and you're
Yep.
like,
And then you can
I'll
just
work
pick it
on
back
it.
up. Yep.
That's perfect. Oh. Do
So,
you have any additional tips or tricks that you want to share with other mompreneurs who are out there or grandmapreneurs?
I love that, Grandmapreneur. Um, no, I think just, just remembering that that time is precious, I think is the thing. And I think that every generation probably is like, oh yeah, yeah, they're only, yeah, they're not going to remember. They're not going to, they're little, they won't remember. They do, they will. They are not going to remember everything, but it's just knowing that that time is precious. It's such a short little window. Like, obviously, you can go back and have a career later. So it's like you're not limited on that, and I feel like we fall for that gimmick of you got to do everything right now, and it's like right now is the time to make money, and some of that is true. There's a balance in that, but um, my heart is obviously just the Mimi grandma heart of keeping them, spending as much time with them as you can as possible. You don't want to miss out on those little moments, those first steps, those riding the bikes, for the first time, and and all of those firsts that you can't get back. So it's like trying your hardest to find that balance in, having something like my youngest daughter, she has her office basically set up around like the play area. And so it's like, might be a little chaotic for me, but for her, it's like they're right there. So where, she's involved with all of that, and my oldest, she also has like right outside her office, there's like a foyer and she's got like all the toys and everything. So it's just open to where you're always looking at them. They're always looking at you, at least you're making that eye contact. Because if you just go and put them in a, not that people go and put them in a room, but you're just isolated off, you are going to miss, those smiles, those giggles, those laughs. um, so that's just money can come later. I'm probably not the best entrepreneur, grandmapreneurish, because I'm not like money, but I'm like, nothing is more important than your kids and grandkids. No money, no amount of money. They're just not. And it does make me sad to see some people that do think it's more important. I know we all need it, but like that's the next generation, right? And so and you just don't ever know how long you have with them. So it's sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but it's it's on my heart. Like
It's
um
precious.
it is. It is. Your kids, because then they're grown and they have their own kids and they're not gonna come, sit on your lap anymore, and just take advantage of that time. You can always work more later. You can. So
Very true. Thank you for sharing. No, that is tender. Everyone needs to hear that. Like every person is special. Every child, every baby, every adult. They need to know that they have that we care about them.
right.
They just need to feel that love, that connection. Because again, money can come later, but the emotions and the attachments that you get with the people you're around is way more important than the value you put to them, like the dollar bill.
Right. And it is sad in the day and age that we live in. Everything is so revolved around money. And it just makes me sad. It didn't used to be that way. Um, or at least I wasn't exposed to that yet. I don't remember it being that. Not how it is now. But yeah, it's just I would give up working at all. I just wish I could watch all the kids even on the team. I'm like, I'll be everyone's Mimi and I'll just be the daycare person, type stuff, because it's just I feel like I'm a better grandma than I was a mom, like let's get down and dirty and dig for worms and doing all kinds of stuff. But um yeah, it's you just can't get that time back.
Very true. Well, thank you so much for sharing and
Thank
for
you.
being here with us today. Will you share with us how we can reach out to you and your team?
Yes, the team is the Elite Hub. So it's theelitehub.com is the website. They are on social media. Maybe not me, but the team is the Elite Hub are the handles for all of the different platforms. And yeah, we would love to connect and do a connection call and just get to know people and love to help in any way we can with your transactions. So,
Perfect. They're amazing. I love all of them.
oh,
Jessica and your whole team are amazing. They're
oh,
great.
thank you.
You're
Yes. So,
welcome.
and we're definitely family oriented. So, we have a vast amount of experience on there, and everyone has their own, projects going on. So we've got people that know a little bit more about this than that. And so together we make, all the puzzle pieces come together and we make a really good team of knowing most everything. I mean, if we don't, we figure it out. But yeah. So yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on, and yeah, it's
Of
been great.
course. So don't forget to reach out to Jessica and subscribe to the channel.
Thank you.